I'm going to do this Humungous booby, which we've been very successful with on the last.
With the jiggy jig.
With the jig jig. Yeah. No, well it didn't work with when Keith and I.
So you got. Yeah, right now. So, have you got a size 10, John?
This is a size 8 long shank.
Okay.
If anybody wants some, I've got some here. But you don't have to. You can scale it down.
Can you use an extra long shank?
If you've got long enough hackles, I have, but
I haven't got any hackles.
No, I mean
Mr. Goldie's got me a hackle. I've got your hackle.
I mean that's a fairly long. That's a B800. Canasan B800.
Yeah, I think it's.
So the 800 is a little bit longer. I think that's got to be 3x. Yeah, 3x.
Yeah.
That's 3 times the hook gate. Basically. Right.
I need this now. We've got all the answers, but no, I'll need it.
So it's white thread.
White thread, yeah.
You can see I've been tying a lot of these because that's what's left. Yeah, I tend not to use the top end for the tails unless you nip it out. But if you see there, there's an awful lot of the tips which just haven't got the mobility.
Wow.
So yeah, basically I'm going to use
From the centre.
Yeah, from the centre. So for this, it's quite a bulky tail. I'm going to put 3 about 20mm pinches, one on top of the other.
Right.
So I'll pull it off and then just twist it together and then put the tips. So you get a bunch with all the tips lined up. Yeah, it's just basically on a piece of material. It just helps to keep it all together. And then where we've got all the curly bits, decent pair of scissors. I'm just cutting all of the curly bits off, the bits of the quill, and then, as we saw on the video for the cat's whisker, you pull off all of the fluff, or as much of the fluff as you can, and it just minimises the amount of bulk. Now the only problem with this on a long shank hook is that you're going to get only just half the body.
Keep licking wearing these visors, you can't.
Yeah. So once I've got that in position, I'm just going to put a couple of turns right underneath the tail, and it just gives it a little bit of stiffness there to stop it wrapping around. It still wraps round, but it just reduces the amount of wrapping around the hook. And then at this stage I'll pinch out what I'm going to use in terms of length. So this is just slightly longer than the shank. And because I'm only got half of the body, so you've got about a step there, from there to there. So what I'm going to do is just dub on a bit of this fluff that you took off. Just to give you a bit of a level body. Leave about 4mm at the eye. And then going to tie in a rib. But you can use silver wire, silver tinsel,
Yeah.
whatever, but the reason I used the nylon is that you can wrap quite tightly. So I'm just going to, what I've done is just crimped the nylon with my teeth, put some burrs on it so that hopefully it won't pull out in your ribbing, and then take that out of the way. And then we want some flash in the tail. So I've got this, a little bit of this fish scale, which I'm going to tie in for the strands into the tail, because these are quite long. I'm going to cut just 3 pieces off. Which I'm going to put on top about 4mm up from the tail. I'll just place it either side. So just basically what I did was just, and I'll do it again. If you hold all 3 and then come up behind your thread and slip it on over the top, it's a lot easier to position it. And then take another securing turn, and then what I'm doing is pulling the 3 strands either side parallel with the shank, and then just bind them down either side, not on top of the hook but either side of the hook, so they come into the tail and go right up to the end of the tail, and then you can just measure them off for length and just cut the longer ones. They're a bit wayward, don't worry about it, because they flow nicely in the water. And just moisten them to keep them out under a little bit of control. We're ready to tie in the body material. Now, if you've got some straggly type material, that's fine. The original Humungous tied It's like a cactus chenille, but in silver. But yeah, that'd be fine. But if you haven't got it,
well, you can use
basically what I did was just I've got a hank of this. It's a silvery pearl, and I just took 5 or 6 strands of that and tied it in. As a body material. So once you've tied your body material on, take your thread through and take it right through to the where we're going to tie the eyes in, and I'm just going to...
That 4 millimetres from the eye?
Yeah, well, depending on the hook size, sort of 3 to 4 mil, depending on what hook size you've got. I'm just going to put a little bit of super glue on. So basically we've just got a silver underbody. Whatever your method of construction is, just take it through and then tie it off. So just don't come forward too much, so that we've got a position to tie in the booby eyes. A grizzle hackle.
This is where we need some help.
What?
So quite a wide one, John, yeah?
Yeah, I mean that is just, you don't want to be too much longer than the gape. Right, if you
I think I'm trying a variant here, but
so we've got the hackle. Once we've gauged it for size, we're tying it in. So there is the side facing you. In other words, that is the side that's facing you. It's tied with that facing towards you. So there is a slight. I don't know if you can actually pick it up.
Then
That's the underneath. So that's the top. So
right.
yeah.
So the top facing you.
Yeah, the good side facing you. So in other words, the concave side is underneath.
Right.
And you tie that in just at the end of the body and give it a bit of security, because you've got a long hackle here.
Yeah.
What you can do is, if you've stripped off all of the muck, the flue, you can then tie it in and then come back with the stalk. So you've double tied the stalk, so it's never ever going to pull out. And when you've got it into that position, if you're fortunate to have the saddle capes, you don't really need a hackle plier. But if you, once you've tied it in, if you pull it forward, just pull it forward, and that will help to crease, so it makes the first turn a lot easier. That's it. And then, you know, you should be tying it in. You should still have at least 3 mil in front of it. Yeah. Right. You can do a couple of turns of the collar, and then you can put as many or as few as you like. Hackle. So we won't have quite so many turns on it.
oh,
See?
See that stuff at the back there, Keith? That?
Yeah.
It was Chris Reeves that said, don't throw that away. That's great for a tail on a cruncher, pheasant tail type thing.
Oh, right, say that then.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll say that. It's you, man. Yeah, they're nice.
Yeah.
Good use, wouldn't
So when you're coming through with your ribbing, if you just move it back and forth slightly,
it? Right.
and it just helps to keep the fibres sort of sticking out. If you trap too many, then they will flatten a lot of your hackles. And then you come through to your tying thread and then secure that. And then take off the butt. So I'm just building up the area where the bead's going to be to make sure it's nice and flat. I won't say too. Sorry, it's too small to cut in half. So
Right. So
basically,
I need to probably just take off, say, 4 millimetres.
yeah. So if you take off about 4 or 5 mil,
Yeah, okay.
so you've got your lozenge, well, your tube, but then to create the lozenge, then I'm just trimming. Is that coming through all right? Just trimming a chamfer on it, and then going around the side and the top. You can put these into a Dremel, or Mickey Buick. Did he do it with an angle grinder? No, a bench grinder.
Yeah.
Oh, Lindsay Simpson does that, don't
But it just takes so long.
he? Yeah.
There's a big bit of kit to carry around as well.
He makes them like 50 of gold rings, he does it.
Yeah,
You need that?
there's always an excuse to sit in front of the TV and make booby eyes.
Yeah. Got like tiny knots in them.
Yeah, doesn't tell.
Yeah.
So basically, all I've done is just done that, just a little bit of shaping to it, and then I use a lighter.
Yeah, right.
So just give it, I don't know, about 100 mil, 80 mil above the flame, and just move it back and forth. And it will start to get warm, and it will change shape and smooth out a bit. This one has got a little bit of a kink on it, so I'm just going to
That'll do. Very nice. Now,
Right,
what's
so-
going on then, John?
So when you've got that, if you put the, like I've got there, you've got a little tiny hole, can you see it?
Yeah.
If that's in the middle, then you need to put your thread right in the middle of that.
Yeah, that's it.
So the idea is to take a full, well, 1.5 turns basically, and then just check that it's in the right position before you put too much pressure on it, because if it's a bit out of balance, then you just adjust it. So you've got approximately equal sized eyes. So when you get, and you've got it to that position, then wind it almost up to the point where you're going to tie it in, and then just a tiny bit of super glue.
I don't seem to get it, too much on one side.
And then just keep winding it round until it gets tight, and then you can then do your figure of 8. There you go. And then finally put your whip finish on.
Yeah. I'm happy with that.
And then what I do is turn it over in the vise and double check that you've got it in the right place. That's just twisted around a little bit. And I'm using a bit of UV varnish on it. And that sort of soaks in, and then I can just make sure that it's in the right place before I zap it. And then, as Lindsay Simpson said, just a wee bit of super glue on the dubbing needle, and just prise the eyes apart and then hold them together. It just gives them a little bit more security.
That's it? Yeah, I'm fine.